Hey guys! So, we are actually moving on now to our next challenge, our next self-improvement and wellness challenge. You're welcome to join me on this one, or if you're just curious and you want to find out more, please stay with me. So what is this challenge, you might ask? I am planning to do 100 days sober. Yes, I've actually passed the 30-day point. So I will be posting an article on what I've learned in 30 days and hopefully a video as well. I have written an article on why you should be sober curious. So for all the full details and the research and all of that, please do check out that article. It's linked in the bio. But so yeah, I've taken it upon myself to do quite a bit of research on this topic. What I found out has been interesting and shocking. I think this generation now, we are definitely making a move into sober curiosity. Saying that you're not going to drink is not so taboo. It's a lot more common now, even amongst my own social circles. So why don't we take a little look into why? So, before we get into it, if you do want to do a bit of research yourself or get a bit of inspiration, there's 2 books I would really recommend that I will also link in there with the article for you to get if you wish, which is The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober by Catherine Gray. That is more focused on complete sobriety, but it's definitely still useful for the sober curious. And then we also have Mindful Drinking by Rosamund. That one is more about moderation. Both are great. For me, in terms of completing this challenge, it is following a failed dry January, and I don't plan to never drink again. However, after kind of looking into the benefits of not drinking, I'm hoping this will definitely help to reset my moderation. So let's get into it. Why should you be sober curious? Obviously, number one, big one, health, right? I was pretty shocked to find out that it's actually one of the deadliest of the drugs. It's actually, according to a paper published in 2009, almost 3 times more deadly than tobacco or cocaine. It's worse for your health than heroin or crack. So yeah, that's pretty shocking, isn't it? And, you know, other ways that it affects your health, specific ways, actually can cause shrinkage of the brain and reduced function of the brain, can age it. Naturally, everybody knows how it messes up your sleep, can disrupt your sleep cycle. Again, very bad for your health. There's certain things that you kind of expect, and then other things you don't necessarily think about so much. You know, I was quite surprised to find out that any amount of alcohol is actually bad for you. And in fact, it also pays to be sober, or at least sober curious. So doing a little bit of research, it was found that according to stats in 2022 on average drinkers in the UK, if you would just have about 14 units or roughly just over a bottle and a half of wine a week, you could be losing out on £2,168. If you were having 2 pints a day, if you were to ditch those, you'd be looking at almost £3,000. That's in pounds in savings. Isn't that crazy? And naturally, that amount doesn't even take into account all the extra money you end up spending on food. You know, that greasy kebab at the end of the night, the food the next day, that taxi that you might not have needed, you might have been able to get home by public transport, replacing things that you've lost. Just a couple other examples of how it's sneaking into your pocket, alcohol is. And then the next thing I was kind of finding out as to why it pays, like it's a good idea to be sober curious, is just what an effect it has on your looks. I'll be doing a separate video and article on this particular topic because there's quite a lot to it, but it actually affects negatively the appearance of your eyes, skin, hair. When you're having it to certain amounts, can cause hair loss. It prevents tanning. which is interesting. And that's not to say that having a tan, not having a tan signals attractiveness, but obviously when your skin is producing melanin as a way to protect itself from the sun, it means your skin isn't functioning as it should. And then your body, obviously, all those empty calories. I haven't posted up my update video yet on the challenge, but I have lost weight. Or I've been able to kind of keep off completely what I lost in the fast. Empty calories, that's weight gain that you don't even notice. Not to mention the fact that when you drink alcohol, if you're going to the gym, it kind of, instead of your body repairing your muscles, it's instead, being damaged by the alcohol. So your progress there will be massively altered. In terms of your productivity, you think getting drunk, having a hangover, that lasts about a day, right? It's actually closer to 3 days. So the impact that it has on your productivity, goes without saying, is huge. Not to mention the fact that it creates a kind of mini withdrawal in your system, which often leads people to then have a little drink, hair of the dog, to kind of remove those symptoms of withdrawal, but then it just extends that period of being hungover. In terms of your perception of time passes much more quickly. You're not so aware of it passing. And you're not so able to kind of regulate your time, which definitely goes back into that point of productivity. Going on to further reasons for why it's a good idea to cut back on the alcohol or to be sober curious is your safety. Personal safety. Alcohol switches off the part of the brain that's responsible for your inhibitions. You're more likely to get yourself into more dangerous situations, more risky situations. Linking to that point about physical safety, you also have your mental safety to take into account, your mental health. Because alcohol is actually linked to a number of mental health problems, including depression and at a severe stage psychosis even. I think the most common mental health issue that it can create is anxiety and paranoia. And it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because a lot of people will look to alcohol as a way to relieve their anxiety and to be a social lubricant as well. And what it does, because it switches off that part of the brain that's responsible for your inhibitions, it does temporarily relieve that feeling of anxiety. But what you haven't done is you haven't actually taken the time to cope with your anxiety or to figure out why you're anxious. So when your anxiety actually comes back, because you've not actually dealt with it, comes back even worse, and it can get worse over time. Adding to the fact that you're going to have that paranoia anxiety because you probably did things that you might not necessarily have done if you would have thought about it. Then again, you have gaps in memory, or damaged memory, or blackouts, complete blackouts. Again, that's a big one for your physical safety. If you're not aware of what you're doing, you can't remember it either. Can get you into some very dangerous situations, which, we might have all laughed about. Say, oh no, she woke up in the bed of that mingus, she didn't remember, or he ended up sleeping in a field. But actually, when you think about it, stop and think about it, those actually could have ended really badly. That's actually really dangerous. But yeah, going back to the anxiety, of course, if you can't quite remember what happened, and also you were acting in a way that you didn't feel in control of, you might not necessarily feel proud of, that's just going to add to, compound and increase that anxiety and paranoia. It's quite a common thing for people to experience what they call the booze blues the morning after. And then on that point of behaving in ways that you might not normally have done, another reason why a lot of people are sober curious is because they want to seek out and build up genuine connections with people. If you can't actually think about it, if there's people in your life that you can't enjoy their company sober, then do you actually really like them as a person, or do you just like drinking with them? You know, same thing as when people are on a bad date, you know, they'll drink to, oh, now I have the beer goggles on, now I find them attractive. But actually that's a bit of a wasted interaction, isn't it? It's not going to lead anywhere. You weren't actually attracted to them to begin with. And the problem as well with alcohol is that it is very addictive. It's very addictive. So the more you have it and the more you might use it to cope with certain things, the more you need to actually get the same effect. But yeah, so that kind of rounds up my summary of reasons why you should be sober curious. Do check out my article for the full details and stay tuned for my update on what I learned from doing 30 days sober. And follow if you want to then finally see what I learned from completing 100 days. Yeah guys, please do feel free to comment any questions you might have, anything you found interesting, and also any other topics you'd like me to research or speak about, any challenges you want me to take a look at. I'd be more than happy to. Follow for more self-improvement and kind of health-related content. And I hope you guys have the most glorious day. Do spank that like button if you enjoyed the video, and I look forward to seeing you here again.